Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Tech Basics. So we'll try to get more details of C fundamentals. So today we'll try to discuss what are the different data types available in a language called C, followed by how do we construct a variable name, and then we'll try to understand what is an input and output statement in a C language along with the syntax, and then we'll try to write some programs using these particular statements. So coming to data types in C language, when I say data types, it means what kind of data we are going to provide as an input to our system. It can be a number, it can be a character, it can be a group of characters, and so on. So based on that, we have different data types in C language called as a basic type. We have enumerated types, we have derived types, followed by a type called void. So we'll discuss one by one about these data types. Coming to basic types, here we have two different data types again called as integer data type followed by a floating point data type. So when you talk about integer data type, it means you are going to provide an input to the system, to your program, which can be a number without any fractions. For example, if you want to provide an input to your program as 100, 200, 500, 1000, wherein you do not have to make use of any fractional value, you can make use of a data type for that as integer. So before we execute a program, we need to write in our program that we are going to take a value which is of type integer or which is of type float, and so on. So when you talk about floating point data type, here you can make use of a number with a fractional value. It can be something like 10.50, 15.70, and so on. So if you want to work with numbers without fractions, you can go for integer type. If you want to work with numbers with fractions, then you can go for floating point and so on. Then coming to enumerated data type, it is basically a user-defined data type which is used to assign names to integral constants. For example, say if you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday up to Sunday, it means that you can provide a value for Monday as 0, Tuesday as 1, and so on like. So we'll discuss more about enumerated data types. We'll put into practice and write some programs using this as we progress. Similar to that, we have a data type called derived type, wherein you make use of pointers, you make use of arrays, you make use of structures, unions, functions, and so on. We will also discuss this as we progress. And then we have a type called void. Void indicates no value. So when to make use of this data type and all, we'll discuss as we progress. So details about the standard data type called integer. So integer data type, floating point data type, these are also called as predefined standard data types in C language. And the types available over here are, we can enter a value called character value, which will occupy 1 byte of memory. It means that when you say character, it means any key on a keyboard can be called as a character. So if you enter A, it is treated as a character and it is going to occupy 1 byte of memory. If you enter a number, it is treated as character and it is going to occupy 1 byte of memory. So when you say character data type, you cannot perform any arithmetic operation with the help of this particular data type. And then similarly, you have unsigned character, you have signed character, you can use a negative value, you can avoid using negative value, and so on. and then you have a data type called integer data type. So when you say integer data type, here you can enter a value without any fraction, and it is going to occupy 2 bytes of memory or 4 bytes of memory. It depends on what compiler you are making use of and the operating system that you are making use of. We can also see whether it occupies 2 bytes or 4 bytes with the help of some functions. As we progress, we are going to discuss about that. Similarly, you have integer data type as unsigned integer, wherein you can enter a value without any negative sign, which means it is called unsigned integer. It is also going to take up a value or a storage space between 2 or 4 bytes. Similarly, you have a data type called short data type. So here you can again make use of numbers without any fractions, and it is going to occupy 2 bytes of memory. You also have something called unsigned short, which again takes up a memory of 2 bytes, and then followed by you have long data type, which takes long integer, otherwise you can say, which takes 8 bytes of memory. So when you say it takes 8 bytes of memory, 4 bytes of memory, 2 bytes of memory, meaning of that is it can take a larger value when compared to the previous one, and so on. And then you have unsigned long, which means it is going to take a value which is lengthier than or bigger than a value that you provide for integer, and it cannot have any sign. So you can call it as unsigned long integer. So similarly, we have floating point types. Here you can make use of a type called float, which is going to occupy 4 bytes of memory. So if I store something like 100.50, it is going to occupy 4 bytes of memory, and the precision that you get is you can get accuracy over here up to 6 decimal places. Similarly, if you want to have a bigger value than what we have in float, then you can make use of a data type over there called double, which can take or which is going to occupy 8 bytes of memory, and your accuracy can go up to, precision can be up to 15 decimal places. Similarly, you have something called long double, which will take a value which is bigger than the value that you provide in double, and it is going to occupy 10 bytes of memory, and then the accuracy over here, the precision for that is 19 decimal places. So depending on what kind of accuracy you need, what kind of value you want to store, you can make use of a data type called float, double, long double. So these are going to take the numbers with fractions. So that is all about data types. Then let's go with how do we write a variable name? How do we construct a variable name? So whenever you write a variable name in a program, we need to follow certain rules. As we discussed in the last class, variable is a name that we provide for the memory that we reserve. So the rules over here are: characters are allowed when you are writing a variable name, underscore is allowed, capital letters from A to Z are allowed, small letters from A to Z are allowed, digits are allowed between 0 to 9. So when you say characters are allowed, underscore, capital A to Z, small a to Z, and 0 to 9 is allowed. And then the second rule is the first character should be an alphabet or underscore. So whenever you are writing a variable name, we need to see that our first character should be an alphabet, or it can be an underscore. It cannot be a digit over there, and so on. The third rule over here says variable name should not be a reserved word. So it should not be a reserved word which your C language makes use of, like print, scan, and so on. Similarly, the fourth rule says blanks and commas are not allowed. So when you write a variable name, you should not provide a space, or you are not supposed to write a comma in the middle. No special symbols other than underscore are allowed in writing the variable name. So let's go with it. Once again, characters are allowed with special character called underscore, followed by your first character has to be an alphabet, or it should be an underscore. The variable name should not be a reserved word. Blanks and commas not allowed, and only underscore is allowed. So let's understand and try to write some of the variable names over here. So if I write a variable name to accept some number as number with n capital, rest all small, as we said, it is valid because you are making use of the first letter as a character. There is no space in the middle. There is no comma over here. In the similar way, this is also valid because you are going with small case letters. There is no space, no comma, and it starts with a character. The third one is also valid because it starts with an underscore. As we said, it has to be underscore or a character. And the fourth is also valid because we are making use of two words over here, but they are not separated with the help of a comma or a blank space, but separated with the help of underscore. And the fifth one is valid because you are using a digit over here, but that is not at the beginning, and there is no space or comma in the middle. So all these are valid variable names. In the similar way, if you see this first number, so wherein you have made use of two words, but there is a space over here, so it is not valid. Name of the student, again there is a space over here, so it is not going to be treated as valid. The last one we have is 9NUM. That is not valid because you started a variable name with the help of a number and not with the help of a character or with the help of an underscore. So this is how you are supposed to write the variable names in your program. And then once you know how to write a variable name, once you know what are the different data types, this is how you are going to declare a variable in a program. So declaration of a variable is to say, when I write integer a, it means a is given a memory which is equal to 2 bytes or 4 bytes, and a is going to store a value which cannot have any fractions. So you can declare a variable as integer a. If you want multiple variables, you can say integer a, b, c. I over here has to be small. When you want to have numbers with fractions, you can say float a, b, c. You can say double a comma b comma c. So when you declare multiple variables, you have to separate the names of the variables with the help of a comma. And every statement in C language has to be terminated with a semicolon. Followed by, you can also say character char name. It means it is going to take the variable called name and for which you can accept a single character. Similarly, you can also write character name. Within bracket, you can say 10. It means this particular variable called name can take maximum up to 10 number of characters. Then we'll try to understand over here what are the various input and output statements in C language. So today we'll try to understand a statement called scanf, which is called as an input statement, and a statement called printf, which is called output statement. So we call it as scanf and printf functions in C language because when you make use of these functions are going to perform some tasks for us. The standard input output header file called stdio that we include at the beginning of the program contains the definition of printf and scanf. So printf is going to help us to display the values, and then scanf is going to help us to accept the value from an input device. So let's try to understand the syntax of printf and scanf statement. So when you say printf or when you want to write printf, the syntax over here has to be format string in double quotes, comma, argument list. So when I say syntax, it is as good as we write the English statement with the help of grammar. So grammar in English can be treated as syntax in C language or any programming language. Similarly, scanf can be written as format string within double quotes, comma, argument list. So when you say format string, this particular string is going to inform our program what kind of value we are going to accept. And similarly, here we are going to write in the argument list the names of the variable that for which we are going to accept the value. So the format string over here, and the meaning of that, if you see, %d, the format string which we make use of in order to accept any integer value. So if I say %d, it means I am going to accept two integer values. It can be used in scan as well as your print statement. Similarly, if I say %ld, it means I am going to accept a long value. In the same way, if I say %f, it is for float, %lf, it is for double. Similarly, if I want to accept a single character, I can make use of %c, and then if I want to accept group of characters in my scan statement or a print statement, I can make use of %s. So as we progress, we'll try to get details about this, and then we'll try to put some practice on this by writing some programs. Say for example, you have a variable called roll number for which the value is going to be 100. You have a name, and the name I have given my name equals to Sunil. And then you have balance, which is something like this, wherein you have a number with a fraction. So you got a number without fraction, you got a number with fraction. So if at all you want to print the value of this particular variable called RNO, then you are supposed to say printf %d. %d I am writing because this is a number of type integer, and then I will write comma RNO. Similarly, when I want to print the value of this particular variable, as this contains group of characters, I will say printf, not %c. Instead, I will go with %s, and then I'm going to write over here name, the variable name. And then for this, which is balance, which is a float value, I will say printf %f balance. So I can write printf %d for integer, %s for string, %f for float, and so on. In the same way, if I want to accept a value for a variable called roll number, name, and balance, wherein roll number, if I take it as integer, name as a group of characters, and balance as float, then I am supposed to write it as scanf %d, as we have done in printf statement, comma ampersand RNO. Ampersand RNO over here is that you are creating a variable called RNO, which is nothing but a memory stored, which is nothing but a memory in our computer, for which ampersand is going to provide an address. So you are going to store the value of roll number in the memory, for which the address is given by ampersand, and the name of that particular location is written as RNO. Similarly, you can say scanf %s ampersand name. You can write ampersand name over here, or you can just write name over here. Why we need not to write ampersand, we'll discuss as we progress. And then for a float value, you can say scanf %f ampersand BAL. So BAL balance is the name given for the memory location, and the address of that location we get by using this ampersand. So let's have some practice, and we'll try to write some programs over here. So before that, just go with this concept of escape sequences in C language. Just for a glance, we'll just go with this. \n we normally use for new line. \b for backspace. \a is to provide an alarm or beep. \single quotes, double quotes, question mark to write single quotes, double quotes, and then question mark. What is the use of this? Where we can make use of this? We'll try to discuss this as we write a simple program. So let's try to write a simple program over here. So I will make use of the online software called REPL. And then here we are going to write a program. Takes some time initially to start up. And then it gives a sample program over here, which we have written in the last class. Whenever you write a program, you start with a main function, as we discussed in the last class, wherein you are supposed to write integer main. Now a question that arises is, why is that I should write integer and so on? We'll try to understand this as we progress. And then here you can just write a statement called printf, wherein you can just say hello my first program. So this is what we have done in the last class. And then you can say printf you can write some statement. My name is Sunil, and then put a semicolon over here. Your function has to return a value called 0. Okay, why to return a value, why to write this integer, we'll discuss as we progress. So what is that we have done in a program? We have just written two statements, printf statements, hello my first program, and the second one is my name is Sunil. And then once you do so, you can save it and then execute this, and then you can see the output over here. So when you execute this, you will see that you get the output as hello my first program. Followed by that, without any space and all, you got the output of the second line. My name is Sunil. But now I want this output to be on different line. So in that case, I will make use of your escape sequence, wherein I'm going to write over here \n. So when I write \n over here and then execute the program, then you can see I get the output of the first print statement on one line and the output of the second statement on another line, and so on. So this is how you can make use of these escape sequence. It can be \n, it can be \t. If you write, it is going to give you the output with 8 spaces over that. So you can see the output of the first followed by some gap in the middle, some space in the middle, and then you will get the output of the second line, and so on. So this is how you can write print statement, and then you can make use of an escape sequence over there. Now I want to make use of the data types that we have studied today, like integer data type, floating point data type, and so on. Say for example, I just want to take a value called n, and then for which I want to assign. I want to take a variable called n and I want to assign a value for that as 100, and this value I want to print. So what is that I need to do now? You just need to say printf. As it is an integer value, you are going to make use of %d, and then you are going to just say n. So now what happens over here, when you say %d, it is going to print the value of this particular variable called n. So you can see over there, 100 will be displayed. Now you just don't want to display the value as 100. Instead, you want to display that n equals to 100. So you can write it in this fashion. You can say n equals to. So whatever you write in double quotes, it is treated as constant and you will get the same in the output. So you can see over there, n equals to 100. So whenever you display the output, see that your output is easily understood by the end user. Okay. Similarly, what we'll do, we'll try to take some of the variables over here, wherein you say integer a equal to, give some value for that. Then you can write here float b, provide some value for that. And then similarly, you can say character c, you can provide some value for that. And then you can make use of character name, and then you can provide some value for that. What is that we are trying to understand over here? We are trying to understand how do we declare a variable type integer, and then how do you assign a value to that? How do you write a float variable? How do you assign the values? Character variable, assign single character for that. Character variable, but it can take maximum of 10 characters, assign a value for that. And then you try to print this value. So you can say print %d for integer, %f for float, %c for character, and then %s for string, comma. You can just write here the variable names a, b, c, and then you can write a variable called name, followed by the statement has to be terminated with semicolon. So what is that we have done? We have declared 4 variables, and then we are trying to display the values of these variables by making use of the format strings. So you can see the output over here. You will get 100, 100.5, but there is no space over here. So what you can do here, you can make use of escape sequence, \n after this, \n after this, \n over here. And at the last, if you want, you can provide \n, or you can avoid writing that. So then you can see the output over here, which comes one after the other now. So you can see 100, 100.5 with the precision, and then the character followed by the name. So if you want to provide it in a proper way, then you can say the value of A equals to %D, value of B equals to %F, value of C equals to %C, and then value of name equals to %S. So when you write in this format, you will see that the output comes in a much better way, like A equals to this, B equals to this, C equals to this, and then name equals to Sunil. So please practice these programs today, and then immediately within 2 days I will upload the next video wherein you can write programs and then you can perform some calculations. Thank you.